Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. My name is Saleha Faruque. I am an advocacy programs manager with Justice for All Canada. We are a human rights advocacy, a nonprofit group with consultative status at the United Nations, mostly focusing on genocide prevention. So we are here because of Mohan Bhagwat. He is chief of the RSS. He's expected to be in Toronto later this month. Given who he represents and the record of that specific movement that he leads, we are calling on the Canadian government today to bar admissibility and treat him with scrutiny. A joint letter opposing his entry has already been endorsed by well over 300 civil society, as well as labor, human rights, community organizations, and diverse representatives from across Canada, and was already provided to Prime Minister Mark Carney's office, as well as cabinet ministers responsible for public safety and foreign affairs. The RSS is rooted in a political ideology that is nationalistic and authoritarian. One of its most influential leaders had previously praised Nazi Germany's racial nationalism. RSS members and the movement itself in general have been linked to crimes against humanity, including incitement, communal violence, intimidation of minorities, the repression of journalists, academic, and activists, and this in turn emboldens supporters of the right-wing nationalist BJP government to do the same. In 2024, a report from Canada's own Immigration and Refugee Board had described the RSS as the principal organization of the Sangh Parivar, which does include India's ruling BJP government as one of its organizations. Justice for All Canada and leading human rights and civil society groups have been raising these issues within Ottawa for several years, specifically urging the federal government to make renewed Canada-India trade negotiations conditional on concrete action to protect vulnerable minorities. 4 years later, and to no avail, Canada and India have launched a renewed strategic partnership and are working to conclude a comprehensive economic partnership agreement this year with the goal of expanding bilateral trade to $70 billion by 2030. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also expected to visit Canada later this year. Such diplomacy that is devoid of accountability and condemnation is absolutely appalling. People in India and Canada have been and continue to be traumatized by BJP state-enabled discrimination and violence facing Muslims, Christians, Sikh, Dalit minorities, including human rights defenders and journalists. USCIRF has examined the RSS-BJP relationship, recommending sanctions against the RSS and that India be designated as a country of particular concern for its systematic and ongoing egregious violations. CSIS from here in Canada has documented already Indian officials and Canada-based proxy agents engaging in foreign interference. They describe transnational repression as central in India's activity in Canada. And lastly, the RCMP also reported evidence linking agents of the government of India to violence here in Canada, as well as interference within our democratic processes. I'm honored to be joined by a number of human rights leaders representing groups from across the country, including a member of parliament to speak to this further today. I'll have first MP Heather McPherson, member of parliament for Edmonton, Strathcona, to start us off today.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. I apologize in advance for my voice, but I am very, very honored to be here. My name is Heather McPherson. I am the Foreign Affairs Critic for the New Democratic Party of Canada. I'm very honored to be joined with the National Council of Canadian Muslims, Justice for All, the World Sikh Organization, and Hindus for Human Rights to speak about this issue. Last week, myself, along with my colleague Jenny Kwan, who is the NDP critic for public safety, wrote to the government urging them to ensure RSS leader Mohan Bhagwat is denied entry to Canada. New Democrats have been calling for a ban on the RSS for years, and we are alarmed at the many reports of hate speech, advocacy of violence against religious minorities, targeted intimidation of critics in India and in Canada. Muslim, Sikh, Dalit, and other minorities in India have been targeted with intimidation and violent threats. And as the groups assembled here today have said previously in many reports, there is considerable evidence of RSS sphere of influence in Canada. The vile murder of Canadian citizen Hardeep Singh Nijjar, reportedly involving senior Indian leadership of the BJP, a member of RSS, should have already led to Canada taking action to protect Canadians from violent extremism. And that is enabled and perpetrated by the RSS and its members. In recent weeks, the United Nations human rights experts have called on Canada to ensure members of the Sikh community are protected from violent threats by Hinduva extremist groups, including the RSS. It is clear that the government is not doing enough to protect Canadian citizens. Instead, in recent months, the Carney government has grown closer to the Modi regime, causing members of several minority groups in Canada to feel like their concerns and their safety no longer matter to this Liberal government. New Democrats have long called on Canada to ban the RSS from Canada, to place RSS on the terrorist entities list, and to impose sanctions on connected networks. Let me be clear. Mr. Bhagwat's presence in Canada would be a danger to Canadian citizens. He is not welcome here. Now is the time to ban the RSS and its members from Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather McPherson, for your remarks. I call upon the Government Affairs and Public Policy Officer from the National Council of Canadian Muslims, Ahmad Al Qadi.
Thank you, Saleha. Canada is a nation that is built on values of multicultural tolerance and respect. The beauty of Canada is that everyone who chooses to live in this country and respect its values and uphold its values has a place here, regardless of where they're from, their background, their faith, or their personal beliefs. Unfortunately, the India-based RSS network, which operates in Canada today, and whose chief leader is about to make his first visit into the country, has no plans to follow these same values, the values that bind us together as Canadians and make a great country. As many have noted, the RSS group is a paramilitary organization that takes its founding principles from the Nazi Party. It wants to reshape Canada. It wants to reshape India into a country run by and for Hindus first, and if you're Muslim, Christian, Dalit, Sikh, or anything else, you come second. It is a dangerous, supremacist ideology behind India's worst communal violence since partition in 1947. And it is this group, the RSS, that plans to host events in Toronto at the end of August and the beginning of September. Let us be clear, Mohan Bhagwat is coming with an agenda of division, to poison the minds of Canadians, to fan the flames of intolerance, and to rally his supporters in Canada around the idea that India's Hindu majority owns India and everyone else is a second-class citizen. Make no mistake, Mohan Bhagwat and the RSS will deny these allegations, but for the truth to emerge, we just have to let the record speak for itself. For years, under Mohan's leadership, the RSS has been responsible for the deaths of thousands of religious minorities across India. The RSS network has been caught red-handed by organizations like Human Rights Watch for actively organizing or encouraging mass violence. And now Mr. Bhagwat, the supreme leader of the RSS, wants to come into Canada to push the same exact agenda. He wants to talk about his work. He wants to talk about the RSS vision, and he wants to rally his troops in Canada. This poses a direct threat to the public safety of Canadians. It specifically threatens to import the mass violence and communal Islamophobia and all manner of religious intolerance of the RSS network onto Canadian soil. And what sort of message does that send? That Canada welcomes organizations who associate with Nazi-like principles? The message that we hope Canada sends is the following. All those who want to come into Canada to spew hate and division are not welcome. And that's why we stand together alongside our allies and many Canadians who have called on the Prime Minister, the Minister of Public Safety, and the Minister of Immigration to ban Mohan Bhagwat's visit this year and to ban the importation of hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. I call upon Danish Singh, who is the National President of the World Sikh Organization of Canada, to share remarks.
Good morning. My name is Danish Singh. I'm the National President of the World Sikh Organization of Canada. And we're here today because Canadians deserve answers about the reported upcoming visit to Canada of Mohan Bhagwat, the head of the RSS. The RSS is an extremist Hindutva organization with a long and deeply troubling history of intolerance, sectarianism, and extremism. The ideology promoted by the RSS envisions India as a Hindu nation. Religious minorities, including Sikhs, Muslims, and Christians, have repeatedly faced hostility, intimidation, and violence from individuals and organizations associated with the broader Hindutva movement. The RSS sits at the center of the Sangh Parvar, a network of organizations advancing Hindutva with close ties to India's ruling BJP. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself was an RSS organizer before entering electoral politics. And Modi's right-hand man, Amit Shah, has a lifelong association with RSS. Amit Shah has also been named by Canada as having ordered violence in this country. So this history cannot be separated from what Canadians have witnessed in our own country. Canada has publicly identified agents of the Government of India of being involved in transnational repression and foreign interference, repressing and targeting Canadians. In June 2023, Bhai Hardeep Singh Nijjar was assassinated outside his Gurdwara in Surrey. The Government of Canada subsequently announced credible allegations of a potential link between agents of India and the BJP government to his murder. In November 2024 in Brampton, Sikhs and Gurdwaras were attacked and threatened by individuals associated with pro-India Hindutva groups. Seeing this violence erupt on the streets of Brampton demonstrated that Hindutva extremism is not simply a problem thousands of kilometers away. Its supporters are active here in Canada with real consequences for public safety and social cohesion. Against this background, Canadian Sikhs are shocked that Mohan Bhagwat could be permitted to enter Canada. This is particularly alarming when the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom has recently called for targeted sanctions against the RSS, including freezing its assets and imposing visa restrictions. The World Sikh Organization therefore calls on the Government of Canada to take immediate action. First, if Mohan Bhagwat has been issued a visa or other authorization to enter Canada, we call on the government to review and rescind that authorization where legally permissible. Second, we call on Canadian security and intelligence agencies to examine the RSS and its affiliated organizations, their activities in Canada, and any connections to foreign interference, transnational oppression, hate, or political violence. And third, where the evidence meets the statutory threshold, we call on the Government of Canada to list the RSS and relevant affiliated organizations as terrorist entities under Canadian law. To be clear, this is not about Hindus or Hinduism. Hindutva is a political ideology. The criticism of the RSS is not criticism of Hindu Canadians or Hinduism. Canadians of every background deserve to live free from extremism, foreign interference, and communal hatred. Canada must send an unmistakable message. Organizations and individuals associated with extremism, foreign interference, or transnational repression will not be given a free pass in this country. We call on the Government of Canada to act. Thank you.
Thank you, Danish, for your remarks. We'll have next, as a virtual speaker, Sravya Tadepalli, who is the Deputy Director of Hindus for Human Rights, and she's joining us from the United States.
Thank you. My name is Sravya, and I am the Deputy Executive Director of Hindus for Human Rights, a global organization that advocates for democracy and pluralism from a Hindu faith perspective. As a Hindu, I stand in solidarity with my friends here in calling for Mohan Bhagwat to be banned from Canada and the United States. Mohan Bhagwat is not coming simply to meet Hindu communities. This is an effort to rehabilitate the RSS's reputation and present its politics as respectable and representative of Hindus everywhere, even though they represent a fringe segment of Hindus who promote violence against religious minorities and an apartheid India. But the RSS does not represent the Hindu community. Hindus in the United States, Canada, Britain, we live as minorities. And we depend on secular government, equal citizenship, religious freedom, and protection from majoritarian politics. We also expect our governments and our neighbors to defend those principles when Hindus face discrimination. We cannot accept those protections for ourselves abroad while supporting a political project that destroys equal rights for Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Dalits, and other communities in India. The RSS is telling Hindus that you should be able to enjoy pluralism where you live, but support majoritarianism where you came from. And our answer to this is no. We want the same thing for India that allows our families and communities to flourish here. A democratic, secular, and multi-faith society in which nobody's citizenship, safety, or dignity depends on their religion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sravya. Such findings that have been described by today's speakers should have already made the Canadian government vigilant about harmful and influential political networks that are connected to India, especially when Canada's own Indo-Pacific Strategy Agreement commits this country to democracy, pluralism, and human rights. These principles have very clearly taken a back seat as commercial opportunities grow, and that has been devastating for members of the Canadian public, as well as those from diasporic communities. I'm very happy to be joined by our final speaker, Dr. Chinnaiah Jangam, who is the Associate Professor at Carleton University.
Can I go? Thank you again, Saleha, Justice for All Canada, for organizing this press conference. And good morning, everyone. And I stand here as a scholar who writes on the history of Dalits, who are known as untouchables, and also marginalized communities who are nearly 20% of India's population, who constitute more than 200 million people. So we live in a very dangerous world now. I think Canada is one of the countries in the world where people look with hope that here the minorities and persecuted people live with dignity and also in a plural society. So in this context, as a Dalit scholar who writes on issues and also living in Canada for more than 16 years, what I experienced is that Canada is one of the places where I had a freedom to write and talk. But despite all that, I faced a lot of persecution in terms of the Hindu right groups who actually targeted me because I write about the caste system and also discrimination they faced by. So in this context, today's context, the press conference is that Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, RSS chief, is supposed to visit Canada. And Canada is home to Hindu right wing organizations which are basically threatening and also posing serious threat to the public order in Canada. For example, I faced both in-person and also online threats from Hindu right groups. And this visit will be a very important in the context of emboldening these groups and getting them power in terms of whatever they can do, they can go scot-free. So in this context, our ask is to, prevent him from entering into Canada because he doesn't represent India as a government. He doesn't hold any official position. And the organizations affiliated with him involved in persecuting marginalized communities like indigenous people, indigenous Adivasis, and also Dalits. As I speak, if you open any newspaper or Twitter or any sort of social media, you see instances of Dalits and Adivasis, Muslim minorities and also Christians being persecuted. Their places of worship are attacked. So in this context, to safeguard the Canadian plural society and also democratic norms and also justice, our ask is to act and prevent this person entering into Canada so that our plural and also peaceful democratic existence will not be threatened by it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those remarks, Dr. Chinnaiah. I think we just wanted to reiterate what is it that we are asking for today. where Canadian law already establishes grounds for inadmissibility, deny the RSS leader, Mohan Bhagwat, as well as any RSS affiliates entry, and apply that scrutiny to RSS-linked individuals. Launch a national security review of the RSS and such affiliated organizations within Canada. Examine the activities of the RSS and associated organizations within Canada, and in doing that, apply Canada's foreign influence transparency requirements. Refer Mohan Bhagwat's visit to the Foreign Influence Commissioner, as required by law, and enforce the registration and disclosure requirements. And lastly, assess whether the RSS meets Canada's criminal code criteria for being listed as a terrorist group, as was already recommended by human rights organizations across Canada for the past several years. Thank you so much, and we are ready for any media questions at this time.
We don't have any questions in the room. For those of us joining us online, please use the raise hand function now. Our first question will be from Dylan Robertson. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thanks for taking our questions. I'm wondering if any country has banned the RSS or denied entry to Mr. Bhagwat.
Does anybody want to answer? I could answer if you'd like to.
Yeah, you can answer.
Okay. It's possible that my colleagues might have some thoughts as well, but I'll answer to begin with. So as part of Mohan's itinerary or his travel schedule this summer, we do know that he's not only expected to visit Canada, but also the United Kingdom as well as the United States. Neither of these countries have yet, quote-unquote, outright banned him. However, several segments of the U.S. government have already deemed RSS activities, as they are interlinked with the BJP, to be rooted in authoritarianism and fascism, and its both direct, indirect, and inadvertent impacts on the minorities within India and subsequent persecution. In terms of the banning of the RSS, USCIRF has also recommended sanctions that Congress would take against the RSS as well. We also know that the RSS was implicated and banned in India itself 3 times. One of those times, the RSS was banned for its involvement in the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi several decades ago. So we are looking for him to be barred from entry for all of these reasons and more. I think right now our main focus and concern is public safety and the sentiments of those from South Asian backgrounds here in Canada, and how the presence of a leader such as him, a chief leader from an organization rooted in right-wing Nazi ideology and influenced by such, that they're not happy with him being in Canada. And I think it links back to their sense of well-being and safety. Thank you for your question.
And I realize most of the concerns here are about what the RSS has done inside of India. And I'm just wondering if you can clarify what activities have occurred inside of Canada, and if any of this has been documented by Canadian courts or prominent Canadian institutions.
So as I mentioned, the Brampton riots that occurred in 2024, in a lot of the videos and footage, you will see chants of RSS or related affiliated organizations. And some of the leaders there as well are affiliated to some of these organizations. That's one example. And there's also the case of Amit Shah, who is a lifelong associate of RSS, who has been named by Canadian officials as having ordered and orchestrated violence in Canada.
Thank you for your question. I feel like this has been mentioned a couple of times, but just to reiterate, in terms of some of these activities actually having been recorded here in Canada, we know that the RCMP has reported on this through their research. We know that Canada's Foreign Interference Commission, in the Commissioner's latest report, has documented instances of transnational repression and violence linked to agents of the Indian government. And so as well as CSIS also has done a study on the links between the BJP and the RSS and negative implications. So that research has been done by these Canadian institutions. We know that, of course, leaders such as Heather McPherson had stood up within Parliament several times to speak about the danger of the RSS and why it should not be existing, or RSS-linked charities or organizations should at least be reviewed here in Canada. So we know that this issue has been spoken about and studied at length by institutions of the Canadian government, but also by members of Parliament that actually have foreign affairs and human rights obligations as part of their portfolio. Thank you for your question.
Dylan, I don't have anyone else online, so if you have any other questions, please go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I would maybe just get a broader comment on what we've seen under the Carney government. I mean, obviously, the Modi visit, the rapprochement with India, you guys have talked about that. I'm wondering when it comes to intercommunal, the different facets of Indo-Canadian communities here, it seems like there has been a bit of a shift from concerns from Sikh organizations towards concerns from some of the Hindu organizations within Canada. Obviously, there's a huge diversity here of different groups, but I guess I'm just wondering how you would describe the way that this government is approaching issues when it comes to the Inclusion Council, when it comes to the concerns of people who in India are religious minorities, what's happening with their relatives back home. Do you have a broader comment on what shift is taking place regarding these different groups?
And I do invite my fellow speakers to share an answer if they have thoughts. Thank you for your question. I think that I agree. It is a very diverse community that is concerned about what is going on right now. And of course, I could not speak from their specific perspective. However, the breadth of our India campaign work going back now 6 years has always been done in conjunction with those that are for human rights. So as you mentioned, Canadians that are from Hindu backgrounds, civil society backgrounds, labor unions, as well as think tanks and academics. And despite years of lobbying, similar joint letters that have made waves across the community, several attempts to reach out and to kind of cross over that threshold between civil society and foreign affairs offices. I think one kind of ubiquitous experience has been one that has been shared amongst all of our diverse groups is just the silence about this issue and the general inaction. So whereas we are seeing lots of responses in terms of similar human rights violations and conflicts and strife in various parts of the world, as there should be, responses from the Canadian government and policy measures and condemnations. Very interestingly, when it comes to the issue of India, it has been a very stark and mere silence. And that is something that that has been frustrating over the years. And after the joint letter that was sent to the Prime Minister a couple of days ago with over 300 names of very diverse individuals, as you pointed out, from across the country, including some of the most renowned human rights groups, it would be another blow to us and another disappointment to not get a response. We're hoping that we will get a response this time, given that Mohan's visit is fast approaching. We do hope that his admissibility will be barred. But I think, just to answer your question, there has not been any movement on the India file as there has been on other human rights violations, unfortunately.
I jump in as well with a comment. Dylan, thank you for the question. I just want to say, from my perspective as a parliamentarian, I feel this is adding to a narrative of this government prioritizing trade over human rights, over the safety and security of minority groups in this country. It is a continuation of sort of an abdication of Canada's role in the world. I have traveled across this country over the last year and spoken to so many Canadian citizens who feel like they are being treated like second-class citizens by this government, that they are not given the same prioritization. Their safety is not prioritized in the same way. And I think, combine that with the the putting trade ahead of human rights. Combine that with us stepping back on things like international development, stepping back on peacekeeping, all of these things put forward, I think, something that's very dangerous, that Canada is going down the wrong path, prioritizing commerce over human lives.
I think I would just add to that we also believe that trade is important, and it's important for the health of this country. It should just be principled, and we see a principled stance when it comes to the U.S., who's waging economic warfare against Canada from this government. But we don't see the same principled stance when it comes to violent activities in this country and when it comes to public safety. And so that's where the disconnect is. And on top of that, Mohan Bhagwat is not some civil servant or government official where that would even apply. And Canada has a history of denying people who have been part of either extremist or military or militant groups. And so the trade reason should not even apply here, and this should be an easy win for Canada.
Can I?
Please do. Yes, of course.
Thank you. I also want to make some clarification to everyone that, that it's not the question about Hindu religion as such. There are, Hindu, RSS or Mohan Bhagwat is not the representative of Hindu religion. There is a difference between Hindu religion and also the way in which the Hindu religion has been politicized through organizations like RSS. So that's why it's very important to make this difference. Like, Hindu people who, even in Canada, there are many Hindus who practice religion. They are not involved in any sort of activities, or in fact, they lead normal life like any other Canadian citizens. What we are asking is that you make that distinction, that the distinction between politicization of religion and the practice of the religion. And every Hindu is not part of RSS network. You need to make that difference. Thank you.
This is all the questions we have for today. Thank you so much.